Okay, in our previous discussions, we talked about whole and natural numbers. So now we're going to look at elementary operations applied to these number sets. And in order to do that, let's write an equation down here. Suppose I have this relationship 3 plus 2 times 6 minus 2 plus 8 equals. So I have this simple relationship written down here. Well, the question is, what do we do first? Do we do is this 3 plus 2? Let's look at one case. Is this 3 plus 2, which is 5, times 6? Maybe minus 2 plus 8 is 10. 30 minus 10 is 20. Or is this 3 plus 2 times 6 minus 2 is 4 plus 8 equals 3 plus 2 is 5 times 12 equals 60? Or is it something else? Well, we see that we have to have a clear defined system for solving problems like this, and we need to define a correct order of operations. Otherwise, different people are going to get different answers to the same problem we write down. So we'll agree to do this. First, we'll do anything that's in parentheses first. Then we'll do multiplication and division. And then we'll do addition and subtraction. So this is the order of operations we're going to follow, so that everybody gets the same. So everybody gets the same answer. So if we follow order of operations on this relationship here, then there are no parentheses in this, but we do have multiplication, addition, and subtraction going on. I meant to make that division, but let's just keep it like we have it here. Let's just call this addition. So here we have multiplication. We have to do that first. So that's 12. So we're going to end up with 3 plus 12 minus 2 plus 8. So our result then, now we can do the addition, is 15 minus 2 is 13 plus 8 is 21. And that is our answer. Let's look at another case. Suppose I have 8 plus 12 divided by 2. Well, if I just did this willy-nilly from left to right, 8 plus 12 is 20 divided by 2. That equals 10. So we'll do it in red. 8 plus 12 divided by 2. Let's say that's 20 divided by 2 equals 10. Well, that's wrong. The way that this problem is supposed to be solved is we need to do division first. So 6 divided by 2 is 12 divided by 2 is 6. And then we add that to 8. And the correct answer is 14. However, if we wrote the equation like this, 8 plus 12 divided by 2 equals, well, that's a different story. Now that we have this in parentheses, we are saying we're going to force ourselves to follow our order of operations. And the order of operations says parentheses first. So now we're going to force ourselves to solve this first. 20 divided by 2. This, in fact, does equal 10. So the same numbers can give us different results depending on the sort of symbols we see in the relationship. In particular, like if we see parentheses or not. So this is important if you're working with a calculator. You need to pay attention to your order of operations because most calculators will typically follow order of operations when you set up. Well, it depends really on how sophisticated your calculator is. The older calculators won't follow order of operations, so you'll have to liberally use parentheses to force the calculator to calculate what you want calculated first. But I would never trust your calculator to follow order of operations. And I know for a fact that the Windows calculator doesn't. Let's take a look. I pull up the Windows calculator, Windows standard calculator. Suppose I do 8 plus 2 times 6. 8 plus 2 times 6, what does it equal? Well, the Windows calculator tells us it equals 60. We know that 8 plus 2 times 6 should not equal 60. We have to do multiplication first. This is 12 plus 8. It should equal 20. So what the Windows calculator is doing is 8 plus 2 is 10 times 6 equals 60. So it's not following order of operation. So you need to be careful with your calculators. Now, if you were to change this into a scientific calculator, I think Windows scientific calculator actually will follow order of operation. 8 plus 2 times 6 equals... No, it didn't. It didn't follow order of operation there either. Oh, yeah, it did. I'm sorry. So it gives you the correct number. 12 plus 8 is 20. So be careful what you do. Okay, let's apply this to a word problem. Let me write it out here. Okay, here's our word problem. Let's say your salary is $9.75 per hour. What is your approximate annual salary? Okay, so maybe pause and see if you can solve this problem. Well, what we need to do is we need to figure out what we're trying to do here. And as we look at this problem, I'm given that my pay is actually expressed, my salary is expressed as some amount of money per hour. But the problem that I want to answer is the amount of money I make in a year, my annual salary. Okay, so we figured that out. So the next thing I need to do then is look here and make a decision. Is there enough information to solve this problem or not? Well, it looks like what I need to do is I need to take $9.75 per hour and multiply this by the number of hours that I work. So it doesn't appear that there's enough information here maybe to necessarily make an exact solution here. I'm gonna have to make a guess here. I'm going to assume that we're talking about 40 hours per week at $9.75 per hour. Next, we're going to have to figure out how many hours I work, how many weeks I work a year. Well, there's 54 weeks in a year. Let's say I get one of those weeks off as a vacation. So I work 53 weeks, say. I'm going to have to make an estimation there too. So 53 weeks. So at $9.75 per hour times 40 hours per week times 53 weeks. Pull up our calculator and we'll do the math here. Do this calculation. Now, I've only got multiplication here, so I can solve this in any order I want. 9.75 times 40 times 53 equals. So the answer I got was 20,670. Was that what it was? 20,000, excuse me, 670. So that's an estimation of my annual salary. So in this problem, we had to make a couple assumptions. First off, we had to figure out what we wanted to do. We wanted to figure out what our annual salary was based on what we're making as an hourly wage. So then I had to come up with a couple assumptions. I had to assume a certain amount of time per week that I worked. And then I had to multiply it by a certain number of weeks per year that I worked to get my total annual salary. Okay, that finishes up section 1.2. We'll move on in the next video to section 1.3.